So what were the key findings to the trust research? We, of course, continue to research on trust and how it affects organizations and brands and leaders around the world, but I started back in my graduate research thinking differently about trust. And that led me to two key findings around why and how. First was the why. Why trust? Why is it important? Why? Well, I found the why was very important. I found that a lack of trust really is your biggest expense. A lack of trust costs more than anything. In fact, you'll pay more for the trusted brand, follow the trusted leader, buy from the trusted salesperson in spite of price almost every time. You will trust the professor or teacher or parent. Trust, a lack of trust really is your biggest cost, your biggest expense, and the single uniqueness of the greatest leaders, organizations, brands, friends, CEOs of all time is trust. First part of the research was why trust? Because it's more important than anything else if you want to make a great impact in any way. The second part of the research was how? How do you build trust then? Is it just integrity or is it just honesty like some people think? No, there's a whole lot more to it. And that led me to the 8 uniquenesses that came out of the research. Of course, in the book, and now we call them pillars because we think they hold up the greatest advantage of all time, something we've come to call the trust edge. The greatest competitive advantage or competitive edge you can have is being trusted. We call that the trust edge. So how do you build it? 8 pillars. The first pillar is consistency. We trust those that are the same every single time. They're consistent, for good or bad. If you're late all the time, I trust you to be late. If you speak well of people, whether I'm in the room or out of the room, I tend to trust you. We tend to trust McDonald's whether we like them or not because they give us the same. I've had the same burger in Cleveland, Frankfurt, and Tokyo. It's the same. It smells the same, looks the same, might be made of something different, but it's the same. Pickles off centered everywhere I go. It's that sameness that we tend to trust. We want to know you're going to be the same all the time. You're going to deliver the same product. You're going to act the same. Then we'll trust you. The second pillar is clarity. People trust the clear and they mistrust or distrust the ambiguous in every area. Clarity of vision we tend to follow and focus on. Clarity of expectations as a parent or as a teacher or as a manager we tend to respect. Those people that are clear about the most important things they can do every single day, they get the most done for their organization and themselves. Clarity. The third pillar is compassion. We trust those that think beyond themselves, that don't underestimate, by the way, the power of actually caring beyond yourself. Compassion is powerful. The fourth pillar is character. Many people thought this was everything. It's not everything, but it is foundational. The leaders and people that really had this pillar did what needed to be done, when it needed to be done, whether they felt like it or not. We have a problem in our country. Many people do what they feel like over what they ought to do, and they lose trust as a result. It is the work of life to do what's right over what's easy. Those that do what's right over what's easy, they live healthier. They have people that want to vote for them, follow them, buy from them, listen to them. Do what's right over what's easy. You'll build the character pillar and you'll start to gain the trust edge. The fifth pillar is contribution. This pillar speaks to the idea that at the end of the day, I need to see results. You need to be a contributor of results. You might have compassion, you might have character, but if you don't give me the results I asked for or expected, I can't trust you. The sixth pillar is competency. You might have great character, you might have great compassion, but I might not trust you to give me a root canal unless you're competent at that. I trust the person that stays fresh, relevant, and capable in the area they want to be trusted in. Competency starts with humility, knowing I don't know it all. And then it builds on that by putting good things in. There's a truth in every single science that input leads to output. Business, we say input leads to output. First law of thermodynamics says the energy you put in is exactly the same as the energy you get out. Basic psychology says thoughts lead to desires, which lead to actions. You got to put good thoughts in to get good actions out. Those that stayed competent and capable, they put good in, and as a result, good came out. The The seventh pillar is connection, the ability to connect and collaborate. Those people that they think beyond themselves, but they work together to get even more done. They're not just totally independent, they're not codependent, but they're interdependent, using the best of each, trusting the best of each, and working together for the best of all. The final pillar is commitment. Commitment. It's hard to teach, but those that had this pillar had a very important piece of the trust edge. Commitment. This starts with ourselves. People often ask me, how do you rebuild trust? We've all maybe lost it to some degree. We're all imperfect. How do I rebuild it? I'll tell you something, there's only one way. And it's not the apology. It might need to start with a sincere apology, but that's not most important. The whole chapter on rebuilding trust is you need to make and keep a commitment. You need to make and keep a commitment. A friend of mine from the Netherlands, he came over, he was a CEO. I said, what do you see as the difference in America? Any differences you notice? First thing he said, in America, you have a bunch of lying apologizers. They all say they're sorry and they don't mean it. It's not the apology. We know people that say they're sorry all the time and don't mean it. You might have to start with a sincere apology, but more important, for me to trust you again is to make and keep a commitment. Don't make so many commitments, and mean it on the ones you make. Don't tell your kids you'll be there if you absolutely won't be there. What happened to me? A couple years ago, I told my team, if I'm not 50 pounds less by May 1st, if I'm not at my high school weight by May 1st, I'll give you $2,500. My wife wasn't overly thrilled about this idea, but I made a commitment. Now, if I would have got on the scale on May 1st and not been 2,500 pounds, if I would have been 50 pounds less, is the $2,500 the most important thing? That loss of $2,500? No. Way more important than that, I would have lost my team that day because I made a commitment and didn't keep it. You know what's worse? I would have lost trust in myself, and that is by far worse. Quit making so many commitments. You've heard the idea, love your neighbor as yourself, which means if you don't love yourself at all, you have a hard time loving others. We know people like that, don't we? It's the same with trust. If you don't trust yourself at all, you have a hard time building trust in your family, in your relationships, and in your team. And the only way to build trust with yourself is to make and keep commitments. So don't make so many. New Year's resolutions, don't tell me you're going to lose 50 pounds, clean the garage, learn 5 languages, and make $1 million. Pick one, pick 2, and stay committed to those. At the end of the day, to build the trust edge, you need all 8 pillars. Consistency, clarity, compassion, character, contribution, competency, connection, and commitment. When you build those, each of them, just a little bit, you start to gain, I think, the greatest advantage of all time, something we've come to call the trust edge.